Buckle up, folks. This podcast is all about diving into the good, the bad, and the ugly of our bodily, spiritual, and mental experiences. If you are not prepared to challenge your assumptions, laugh at yourself, laugh at me, or maybe even shed a tear or two, then you might want to look elsewhere. But if you're ready to get real, get honest, and get a little weird, then welcome to the Just Chrissy podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy McCammon. Good morning, friends. This is your host, Chrissy of the Just Chrissy podcast. Today, we are going to talk about a very interesting subject that we have heard of, but most people don't know a lot about, and it is of concern in your wellness journey. And that subject is parasites. So we're going to talk about what is a parasite, different kinds of parasites, how you get parasites, natural things you can do to get rid of parasites, how you do a parasite cleanse, what is a Herxheimer reaction, etc. So stay tuned through the whole thing because it'll be hopefully super interesting for you. I told you in my testimony that I had 3 parasites. I definitely had the fluke, which is when it comes out as visible. So it looks like tomato skins or grape skins. And then I had some that were microscopic. You don't always see them. A lot of them are very, very tiny. But what is a parasite? A parasite is a microorganism, worm, or bacteria that lives off your body but doesn't give anything back. Roundworm, hookworm, fluke, tapeworm, nematodes, protozoa, and trichinella. Trichinella is one that comes in pork. You definitely want to make sure, it's very difficult to kill off. You definitely want to make sure if you're a pork eater that it is well cooked. I am someone who's gotten to the point where I eat very, very little pork. I used to love bacon, but I don't anymore. Just because the more healthy I get, the more I'm just like, how hard do I want to work to get that out of my body? So I'm just super careful. But you can also have like friendly bacteria in you, and friendly bacteria does a lot of great things. Like it helps you produce vitamin K2, B vitamins, antioxidants. They eat fiber and they convert it into things like butyrate that gives your colon cells energy, and then also can help with blood sugars. And FYI, people can be parasites. There are people that in your life maybe, but there are definitely people out there, I've had to clean out a few, where they are constantly taking from you but never giving back. And I don't think I've mentioned this in the podcast, but one of my great beliefs and operating rooted in wellness is that you have to have a balance between the body, the mind, and the spirit. So you have to, if you have someone in your life that's constantly taking from you and never giving back, they will literally deplete you of energy. And oftentimes when you try to create boundaries, they get angry or they get frustrated with you and they get mad at you and they try to manipulate you. That is not your friend. Because a true friend is someone who will respect your boundaries, recognize that you're trying to get healthier or whatever, and then love you anyway and be supportive of you. And if you have someone in your life that's not that way, then maybe you need to rethink that relationship. Anyhow, back to the actual parasites inside our body. And those people, even though they're outside your body, actually are depleting the inside of your body. They're creating stress in your life. So that's something to pray about and consider. Many are microscopic. So here are some signs, and there are lots of signs. And you'll notice too, like signs for different things kind of overlap. So bloating could be a parasite, but it also could be that you don't have enough hydrochloric acid or that your microbiome is off in your intestinal tract because you don't have the right microbes in there. So keep that in mind. Signs of a parasite: fatigue, weight loss. Does your your anus, your butt get itchy, especially through the night. Pinworms are notorious for moving around at night and trying to get out at night, which causes that itchiness. Bloating, nausea, diarrhea. This is a little deeper, and I'm not a doctor, so I'm not allowed to diagnose, cure, or anything like that. I'm not licensed to do that. But if your iron levels, so like if, like I it always kind of drives me crazy on blood work because you have to fight to get your iron levels taken. But if you have lots of storage, but it's not making it to the destination, that can be a sign, may be a sign that you have a parasite, because they will eat the iron out of your blood. So something to consider checking if you have issues with your iron. How do you get these parasites? They can literally be in everything. However, if you're traveling, especially to like impoverished areas where the hygiene's not there, you may be eating foods that you're not accustomed to. Undercooked meats, especially fish. You need to be super careful with sushi, because if that fish wasn't frozen for that's a period of time. I'm not gonna try to pull that out of my memory, but a certain period of time. I want to say 3 or 7 days. Then you could get parasites from that. Salad bar, your drinking water. You could get it out of your drinking water. You can get a parasite from your pets. One of the parasites I had, even though I did not have pets, was interesting, and I don't remember the name of it. But I had broke, like I got an eye infection, and my eye swelled up like a golf ball. And I had gone through multiple ointments and eye drops, thinking it was like pink eye. Did not work. I finally went to an eye doctor in a town next to us, Shippensburg, and he's not in business now, but he gave me something that took that down. But here, when I figured out that I had parasites, one of the parasites I had, this was a symptom of it. And for months after I had that parasite and had it cleared up, for months afterwards, every morning I'd wake up, my eye would be pasted shut, and then it would be blurry, and it would take several hours until I could even see. Little did I know that this parasite could cause blindness. If you're walking barefoot outside, which I do often, because in the summertime, we talked about grounding. In the summertime, I like to be barefoot. So oftentimes I will get these spots on my feet, and I just treat them with tea tree, and they go away. But you can get them into your system that way. If you go into ponds, if you swim in ponds, and I said about pork and undercooked meat, but if you do not like chew your food well, so for instance, I don't know, take any vegetable, any food, and you don't chew it really well. Remember we talked about the stomach is the washing machine, and how our food gets washed and cleaned in that really strong acid in our stomach. Well, what happens if you're not chewing your food well? And I'm surprised, by the way, this year at the amount of people that have choked on their food, like that got food stuck in their esophagus. I've known 3 people myself that has happened to, and it's shocking. Take time to chew your food really well. There's multiple things happening. One, the enzymes in your mouth. When we talked about digestion, we talked about this. The enzymes in your mouth are starting to break down that food. Get it down to kind of an applesauce texture before you swallow it. 2, that's going to slow you down. And 3, you're going to get full faster. And 4, when your food goes into your stomach, it's not these big chunks that the stomach is going to have a hard time breaking down. And it could have parasites into it that make it through without being killed off. So keep that in mind when you're eating your food, to just chew it really well. Here are some foods that you can use that are really good at getting rid of parasites. However, you do have to know that you must stay away from like sugars, alcohol, milk, refined foods when you're trying to get rid of parasites, because they love all those things. They love it. And if you send that down there, guess what? They're eating that. You also can, a sign of having parasites is that you would be vitamin deficient, because they would be taking that from you in your gut. Okay, so some things that you can do. Apple cider vinegar. You can do it every day. You can give apple cider vinegar to your pets. That's a good way, something that's just a good maintenance that you can do. Wormwood extract, black walnut hulls, garlic clove. And listen, with all of these, just start, don't do them all at one time. Like, don't go buy all of them and then be like, oh, just today I'm starting that. Start slow. Like, put one in and then add another one and then add another one. And then increase the amounts until you meet the recommended dosage on the bottle. Before you do this, though, if you're going to do it natural, before you do that, get bile salts, BILE. Purified bile salts. And the first day before you start this, take 3 of these bile salts throughout the day on an empty stomach. So maybe at 9 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 at night before you start this, because the purified bile salts will open up the flow of your bile ducts down there in the liver. So when the reason you want to do this is because when parasites die off, the endotoxins, the dead stuff, will tend to shut down your bile ducts, and then you start to get sick. So I always, when I meet with clients, recommend they do at least the 7-day detox to get that all cleaned up down there, get things prepared for the work that's going to happen, get rid of some toxins that's in that body. But if you're going to try it with yourself with the food, then make sure you do these bile salts at least a day ahead of time. You want to do the parasite, you want to do that cleanse for 6 to 8 weeks. I always recommend starting before the full moon. You know how people kind of get crazy over the full moon, so it's a good thing to, like, a lot of times that can be parasites. So start a week before the full moon. The first 3 weeks, you're killing off the adults. And the second 3 weeks, you're going to kill off any of the babies that are hatching. And so you have the adults, but you're going to have eggs in there. And so those eggs hatch, and then you're killing them off too. So you want to do at least 3 weeks for the adults and 3 weeks for the babies. I recommend going 8 weeks. I recommend doing a parasite cleanse once a year at least. Once every 6 months would be great. Now, listen, if you don't want to go through all of that work, if you don't want to be like, I don't want to figure out the food and I don't want to do all that, I do have a parasite protocol that's extremely good that I can walk you through, and I don't mind, but I will require that you do a 7-day cleanup beforehand. So if you want to do that, set up a consultation and we'll sit down and I'll explain how easy that is to do. Now, we did talk about having a reaction. There is a thing called Herxheimer. It's a Herxheimer reaction, and all that is, you'll hear it if you're in the clean world. All that is a bunch of inflammation. It's an immune response. It's an immune response. It's a detox, the die off, or it could be called healing crisis. And you may get it for a few hours. Some people get it for a few days, but all it is an immune response inside your system. So it's anything. It could be an antibiotic, an herbal treatment, even a probiotic, killing off the microbes. And what's happening are things are being broken down and released into your system. And the immune system then is spotting it and reacting to it. So you could feel like the flu, achy, inflammation, fatigue, sore throat, rash, lung mucus, swollen glands, headaches, fever, obviously coughing would come with that lung mucus. And the first thing I would say, if you notice these mildly, if they're mild, just be like, try to fight through it. However, ask yourself, can I fight through it? And if you feel like you can't, then you need to maybe just back down on that protocol. Like when I sit down with people to set up their protocol, I start out a little easier and then we go in a little stronger over time. You can't do that with an antibiotic though. An antibiotic can cause it, but you need to contact your doctor. if you have this Herxheimer reaction to an antibiotic. And some other things you can do that are helpful is you can take activated charcoal or bentonite clay, because it is an adsorption, like AD, not AB. So when it goes in, it starts whatever that toxin is, it will go around that toxin and cover it and then eliminate it from the body. And also NAC, or I call it NAC, increases glutathione, which also supports and helps the liver. So I hope you learned a lot from this. Again, these are all very surface information about these subjects, but parasites is really important. About 25% of people have them, is what they say. I would like to say it's probably more, especially if we've just lived a really yucky lifestyle and we're just now learning and trying to get all this taken care of. I would recommend that you do a parasite cleanse regardless. It's not going to hurt you. And it could eliminate a lot of issues for you. If you have any questions, you want to set up a consultation, I'm at rootedinwellness.life. You can respond in the description area of this podcast. I'm going to also put a couple of the items that I talked about. I'm not going to put protocols in there simply because I would want to meet with you to walk you through a protocol. I would hate for you to start one not knowing what to do and then getting sick from it. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go out and apply.